if you go to the Apple iPad website, the iPad Pro says new, iPad Air says new, regular iPad, new price.
Yeah.
Really? What does the mini say?
Old.
Nothing.
What is up, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Waveform podcast. We are your hosts. I don't know how to do that before Marques. We are your hosts. My name is Andrew.
I'm David.
And unfortunately, Marques is out this week. He's a little under the weather, but do you know what would make him feel a little better?
If you hit the subscribe button.
Exactly. He told us that to say that, and he said his sickness depends on how many people subscribe.
Yeah. You know how when people get married and they say in sickness and in health, the actual full thing is in sickness and in health and in subscription.
You know what? I usually zone out at that part of the ceremony, but I'm glad.
That's why you didn't know about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Didn't you officiate a ceremony?
Too.
Anyway.
We will push on without him, though. And in today's episode, we have new iPads, a new Pixel, new Nintendo Switch. It's just all gadgets. Gadgets. Yeah. But before, Ellis has a little recommendation.
I, as many of you know, watch way too much YouTube, and a certain really great creator has come across my my recommendation lately. And I'm not talking about David Amell, who just released a killer video on his personal channel.
Video, yeah.
But I am talking about a cool creator from Atlanta named Cam James with about 60,000 subs, and the videos are way higher quality than 60,000 subs. If the elevator pitch is like, it's like CoffeeZilla, but way slower paced. Like a CoffeeZilla investigation that you could sip some tea to and have a chill afternoon with.
Crypto stuff, or
he does some crypto stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's definitely like financial scams and swindlers for sure. But it's not quite as I feel like I love CoffeeZilla, don't get me wrong, but I feel like CoffeeZilla videos really, knock your blood pressure up a few. It's like, he's like in that crazy room with the robot and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But this is much more chill, really great photography, really great music editing, really great explanations. It seems like he just hired a researcher too.
Cool.
What's cool is that I only know this from stalking him. He's like a really new addition to my watch thing. But it seemed like he was a musician. Like most of his videos on his channel.
He hard pivoted.
About 4 months ago, he put out a video called "I'm a YouTuber Now?" ? And the videos have just been pumping. Like when I found his channel, he had 20,000 subs. And in the past 4 months, he's gotten it up to 60. And so it's very clear the ascent is palpable.
It's pretty
Cam
wild.
James.
The I'm a YouTuber Now video has 9.3 thousand views, and then the next one has 643,000.
Yeah, he's a master. I mean, I obviously haven't seen his analytics, but he's a master of pace, right out the gate. And so I would not be surprised if his watch time is
through the roof,
really high up, because it's just, and it's not like gimmicky pace. It's not like every 5 minutes he's like, and what happened next will blow your mind. It's just very.
This sounds like one of those channels where I'm going to listen to on my commute and be done with this channel by the end of the week.
It is exactly that channel. You have it right. So go check out Cam James and go check out David's Sparkle video.
Do you want to talk about it real quick?
Sure. As a lot of you might know, I went to Japan for a couple of weeks and was not on the podcast. Part of that reason I was there was to interview the guy who invented the sparkles emoji, because I'm sick and tired of these AI companies using my favorite emoji as a signifier of artificial intelligence. So I took about 4 months and made a video called How AI Stole the Sparkles Emoji. And so far, it's tracking pretty well.
It's doing very well.
It just hit 150K views in 5 days, so I'm pretty happy with that. Took me a very long time and a lot of money to make, so...
Go pump it up even more now. Yeah. There
were a lot of people that were like, can you release a video every month? And I was like, this took me 4 months, so no.
I can't afford that.
So thank you for the shout-out. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to get into it, but also, right now, comment how many times you think we are going to say the word iPad in this episode and what it is. It's going to be a lot. Spoiler. But let's get into Switch 2 announcement.
Cool.
David, you looked into this a lot more than I did. All I saw was I feel like we've been hearing about a new Switch, at least for years. Like there was the OLED Switch, right, which was like kind of the updated one, and then there was the Switch Lite, which was the non-disconnecting one. But there's always been this talk of like a new, bigger, higher resolution Switch. All I really saw so far of it that people were really excited about was there was an announcement that we will get an announcement for Switch 2 before the end of the fiscal year, which is April 2025.
Yeah.
What do we know about it?
So yeah, this is kind of wild. I think it was yesterday as of the time of recording, so Tuesday, there was a random Nintendo tweet that was all in Japanese and then a follow-up tweet that was translated to English that said, this is Furukawa, president of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to the Nintendo Switch within the fiscal year. It has been over 9 years since we announced the existence of the Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We'll be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024, but please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation. So, kind of wild because Nintendo has not said a single thing about the existence of a follow-up Nintendo Switch at all. They don't do that, really. They usually don't make announcements like that. Generally because obviously they don't want people to just stop buying hardware when there's a new one right around the corner. So I think that that's sort of what they're doing is they're like, we're going to talk about it, but just so you know, we're not going to talk about any software regarding it.
Well, and also this new Nintendo Direct's coming up. It's not going to be mentioned, but also but we will eventually is kind of cool. And it's funny that the other article about Nintendo I saw about this recently is that the Switch is on pace this year to potentially beat the Nintendo DS as the most sold device that Nintendo's ever done.
Yeah.
Which is
wild.
Wild, yeah.
But I do think the Switch is like one of the coolest form factors ever.
I think the Switch might be one of the coolest consoles just ever.
Yeah,
like it's one where if you're a Nintendo fan, you're amped about it because it has all your games. It has a bunch of really cool ways to play it. But even if you're someone who like plays games on your computer and that's where you mostly play, those people are still buying a Switch. I am one of those. I don't own an Xbox or a PlayStation anymore. Yeah. I feel like if you own an Xbox or a PlayStation, you're usually in one of those camps. The Switch feels like an awesome companion device to maybe playing your bigger games and online games on your PC, but then some fun, nostalgic Mario or like bring it on the plane. That whole thing, or parties, like having people over or playing Mario Kart is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're selling so well, because you're either a Nintendo fan and you bought it, or it's like your secondary gaming console because it's super well priced also.
I think the best part about it is the fact that you always have two controllers on you at all times. Like it's such a cool idea. And yes, they're not super comfortable and they're a little bit small, but they work. And I've had so many instances where I'll just be on a plane and I'll literally ask the person sitting next to me if they want to play
Mario really? Kart. Like someone you don't know? That's awesome.
Yeah, I do that all the time. And it's like, just play Mario Kart. I don't know. It's fun.
I've seen so many people like waiting at the terminal and just like you see like 3 or 4 kids just sitting around. Like you see the seat. Of course, you're always like, I need more seats. And they have one seat, but that's where the Switch is. And then there's 4 kids like sitting on their luggage or on the ground playing Mario Kart. And you're like, that's so awesome.
Also on some of the flights I've been taking recently, they probably advertise this as like, it's a high resolution screen now, but they got rid of the screens on the back of the plane seats and they instead just have a big clamp that can like hold your phone or an iPad.
That's awesome.
But it could also hold a Switch. So you can just like sit there with your Switch and your Joy-Cons and it doesn't have to be attached to the console.
I did not know that. That's so cool.
That's such a good idea. Have you ever seen the people who like, they take their phone with the case, they pop the case off, they take the puke bag out and they like fiddle it into the seat and then snap the case on and it like holds their phone up on so they can watch content on that. Funny. So maybe they're just protecting their puke bags.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because technically like those screens are generally super low resolution and some airlines have put the money into making them higher resolution. But the best case scenario is honestly just like use your phone or your laptop or
an iPad. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's count 1. We're not even in the iPad section yet.
Hot take. There was like a period of time where like a few airlines had direct TV.
There's planes that still do.
But a lot of airlines have like gotten rid of it, I've noticed. But anyway, that was my favorite because I never get to watch TV except when I'm in a plane or a hotel. And so my favorite thing to do on flights is watch commercials.
Watch HGTV.
Yeah, be like, wow, they're still doing this. It's
your
crazy.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how uncomfortable Switch controllers were. and annoying they are. One of the main reasons they're super annoying are the rail system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how they had to be done, but like putting them on is a pain in the neck. And the worst is, do you know the little strap that has like the extra buttons?
Yeah.
If you pull one of those on backwards, which is unfortunately very easy to do.
hard to get off.
It's basically not impossible, but it's extremely
I was
hard to
just
get
going to mention that. Like when they, do you remember when the Switch first came out? There was so many people doing that. People were writing articles about how to correctly put it on.
It's like the Note pen when you put it in upside down, which is way harder to do, I think, but like it would just get stuck.
Right.
But it seems like the rumor is magnets for this new one.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of rumors coming out about the Switch 2, but one of the coolest rumors is that the Switch 2 is going to have metal Joy-Cons that use electropermanent magnets. And this is very cool.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
For someone who has no idea what that means.
Basically, how they work is like you can send a little pulse of current through the Switch / Joy-Con, and it'll change the magnetic field so that it snaps to the console.
Okay.
And then you can send another pulse of current through, and it'll change the magnetic field so it doesn't snap to the console.
So the extremely layman's term is you can turn the magnets on and off.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But you get that you get the added bonus of in an electromagnet, which is a magnet you normally can turn it off. You need to be constantly running current through your magnet to maintain.
It's a hard swap with just a one pulse of electricity.
Exactly. So
it's super cool.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you had to constantly be running current through it to keep the magnetic field going, when you turn the console off, they just fall off.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So if it's off,
so you can put it in the case and it'll stay on. You press a button and they pop off. For when
that's
you want
pretty cool.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm imagining just like going up to now the person that's sitting next to you in the airport. You're just like, you want to play, and you just like press the button, and they both fall into like both people's hands. We're like, we're ready.
That better be in the ad, man. That better be in the ad.
That sounds already like a huge upgrade. Like you wonder what the Switch upgrades are going to be, right? Like the main things you assume is just like it'll have a higher resolution and maybe have a little more power in it. But like, how do you update this really cool form factor that you've made already? And they've kind of screwed things up before, where they did the really cool drift. Or remember like the really cool Wii, and then you released Wii U, and that like bombs terribly.
Yeah.
So Ellis, I think, is a Wii U fan, or
forever.
Yeah.
No, I never owned one, but
the Wii U
still loved it.
In some ways like a precursor to the Switch.
Yeah,
because
it was. Yeah,
it was like a prototype of the Switch.
Yeah, but they mostly focus on Wii U on like the screen being extra information rather than a to-go thing.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, you couldn't really take it with you.
They're so close.
Yeah, they're so close. But there are some rumors about the ways that they're going to be updating this. Larger 8-inch display, which I assume will be OLED, considering they already have the Switch OLED. I don't think that they're going to like go back in display quality.
Wrong.
It should be, maybe, I don't know. It should be 1080p resolution, which, for Nintendo games is fine. And it should support 4K output when the dock is connected.
This is the part that I don't understand.
What?
Why would it support 4K output?
Well,
none of the Nintendo games are like that high quality.
But they will be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's constantly being powered, so they can push more power into it. Because currently it's 720p on the display, and when you put it in the dock, it can support up to 10.
With more power, current.
Yeah. Right now,
Buzz him.
right now, it's a 720p display, and when you hook it up to the dock, it supports up to 1080p output because it's constantly being powered.
And I think Nintendo's the only one who could have pulled that off, because like their games are very cartoony, but like I still want it in 4K. Like I'll still take that.
Totally.
Yeah, but if it raises the price even a little bit, I would rather just have the 1080p to play my cartoon games.
Dude,
it's not like
buy a Switch one.
It's been 8 years. It's been like almost 8 years since the original Switch game.
I would love Nintendo games to be higher graphics where that would make sense, but I'm not sure that.
It's not gonna
happen.
I don't think it's gonna be higher graphics to the point where it's like we're using like realistic textures. It's just that they need to upscale stuff, so they need.
You don't want ray tracing Mario. I mean, that's probably a thing already, to be honest.
I want to see Mario's like 5 o'clock shadow. I want to see every hair.
Do you remember the
Mario movie,
Super Mario World, where the starting screen you could just like pull his face and his hat and everything?
Oh.
Imagine ray tracing 4K, like the Ren and Stimpy close-ups with like the moles and the.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting, baby.
So the Joy-Cons will apparently
be so many millennial references in there. I'm sorry for the younger listeners.
The Joy-Cons will apparently be made of metal, which is pretty cool. And apparently, some peripheral manufacturers were allowed to put their hands in a black box that had a prototype Switch 2 in it, but they weren't allowed to see it.
They could only feel it.
They could only feel it so that they could get a sense of its size and scale and buttons so that they could start ideating.
Why don't we get to do that? That's so cool.
So funny.
You're at an event, David. Ready? The CEO walks up to you and is like, hey, you want to feel something? Follow me to this black box. Just put your hand in there. No questions asked. Put your hand in this black box.
This is a studio video.
That's crazy.
Well, they invited people to come to their headquarters and touch it in the black box.
I feel like this is the updated version of like what phone is this behind your back, where we just take the box on the studio channel and then we put random tech items in and people have to figure out what item it is.
Oh yeah. That's a good
we're
idea.
Sending this to Slack directly after this, but that would be awesome.
Yeah. So the original Switch was announced in 2015 and didn't come out until 2017. So they're going to announce the Switch 2 by the end of the fiscal year, which is by April 2025. But it might not come out till 2027.
It might be a straight decade before Switch 2 comes out.
It would be nice if it came out next year too, but
Two.
Nice. Dose.
That was better. Ring that one. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks. All right. So those are all rumors. At least we got an official tweet from official Nintendo, which is not something that happens very often, but I'm very eager to see where that
do you think when it comes out it will be as hard to get? Do you remember Switch coming out? And I mean, like, it wasn't quite PlayStation 5 levels of hard to get, but I remember at that point I wasn't working and I remember I drove everywhere to go get it because no one would pick up the phones in the like Target or Walmart, like electronics departments, or they would pick up the phone and say, we don't have a Switch. And then see if you had another question and then you just hang up.
It's so funny because I was not going to go buy it on launch day. And I was living in San Francisco. I was sitting in my room and I was just like reading all these reviews about it. I was like, oh, maybe I do want to go get one. And so I just like walked over to Best Buy and there was a line. I just got in the line. They just gave me one. And it was fine. And then when the Switch OLED came out, I remember it was impossible to get everywhere. It was completely impossible to get. And one day I was just sitting in the cafe and I was like, yeah, I would kind of like to get one. So I like go on bestbuy.com and it was like available at a store near you. And I was like, that's weird. So I hit buy and pick up. So I go to Best Buy and the guy like takes it out of the back. He's like, dude, were you like botting? Like, how were you able to get this? Like, we never have any in stock. And I was like, I literally just went on the website.
When the PS6 comes out, I'm going to ask you to get it for me.
I was going to say that's why David isn't getting any of his like Leica or Fuji cameras because he wasted all his luck on the Switch OLED.
I wanted that Fuji special edition. But all right.
That's funny. Yeah, I had a really hard time getting it. Hopefully this is a little easier, but I feel like console sales the first month or two is
insane.
Tough.
It's always insane.
Especially because they usually come out like right before holidays.
Yeah.
So it's just
they know.
Madness. Yeah.
I feel like consoles have it down to a science of how to just be the most popular thing at that time.
Yeah. What frame rate does the Switch run at? Do you know?
I just assumed. You mean on like output or on? I kind of just assumed 30 to be honest. But when you're also giving us something in 720p in 2017, I assume the lowest.
Most games can only manage 30.
Most games can only manage 30. It would be nice if they pushed it to 60.
It would be.
Nintendo games don't need it as much because everything's so like the animations are like.
Marques is gone for one episode, and you're like, let's push it up to 60, baby.
Let's make all of our videos 60.
So, would you rather 1080 at 60 or 4K at 30?
On a handheld?
You're saying only on device?
Oh, you mean both?
So let's say
I would do 1080 at 60, personally.
On device or on output? Yeah.
Because like Nintendo games don't need to be high resolution. The Switch is 720 and it feels fine.
Yeah, it's so funny that we always talk about specs of like high refresh rate, high resolution, and all of us are like, this Switch is the greatest thing ever, and it's just giving us 720, 30 frames.
No Nintendo games are made to be realistic. They're all highly stylized, and they focus on fun over graphics. That's always been the difference.
Well, I also wonder, but it also feels great at 30. So like, do I need 60? Would I rather just be like high super resolution. Crisp 4K?
Fair.
Well, Splatoon uses 60. That's one of the games that can go up to 60.
Really?
Yeah. Which makes sense, yeah.
Because the animations for Splatoon are like. Does Super Smash Bros have 60?
I hope not, but I'll check.
You hope not? I feel
isn't
like
that
people
like
want
a thing where people that really play it know the frame rate and like when to press buttons.
Yeah,
and
well,
stuff.
that's more for Melee, though.
I also I feel like competitive games are normally where you start prioritizing. And I'm not a Smash player, so I could sound like a total moron here. But generally, competitive games are where you prioritize frame rate over graphics quality.
In Melee, at least, because so many of the moves are frame perfect, like you have to hit the button at exactly the right time. A higher refresh rate would probably be more difficult.
I was just gonna say, is it like better because you can figure it out easier and maybe see more of what's going on, or will it totally mess up timing? I guess it doesn't affect timing. But
I guess the sampling rate is going to be different from the frame rate. So
also, Super Smash Bros. Does run at 60.
60? That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
120.
240 or no go. Yeah. So anyway, we're probably going to be hearing a lot more rumors about that for the next year up until they actually announce it. But I am quite excited.
I mean, it'll be the next console that I buy, and the last console that I bought was the Switch.
Yeah.
So
the only non-Nintendo console I've ever owned besides a PC, which is not a console, was the PS2 that I randomly got for Christmas.
I was a big Xbox guy for a while.
Yeah, I never had
first one. I don't want to story time too much, but I remember my friend was gonna get an Xbox, and my mom was like, "I don't think we can do it this year." I was like, "Okay, cool." I go to my friend's house all the way, and then one day she picks me up from my friend's house and was like, "We have an Xbox at home." Like, it's not even Christmas yet, and then she got Halo, and then I played Halo for like 10 years after.
Yeah.
She was like, "The guy just told me to get this game," and I was like, "What is this?" The controls were inverted. That felt so weird to aim inverted. Yeah, that started me.
It had the flashlight button, dude.
Yeah,
that was like the coolest part. I remember like
flashlight button.
Yeah, the original Xbox had a white and a black button, sort of like below the right stick.
Old Xbox controller was nuts. It was so big.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot more to talk about for this episode, so we're going to take a quick ad break. But when we come back, we got all about the new OLED iPad Pros and the iPad Air, and then we got the Pixel 8a, and we've got all this stuff. It's a busy week, so we'll be right back. But first, I forgot, just like Marques always forgets. Marques always forgets too. So I guess we are the same person. We got trivia.
All right. Before we get into trivia, 2 pieces of trivia housekeeping. 1, so many of you sent me excellent, amazing Android devices that you would never expect run on Android. Now, Adam and I talked, and we decided like we couldn't even pick the best ones. So next trivia extravaganza, we're going to do a whole, is this Android or is this not Android? Keep sending those in. We've gotten so many good ones, but I'll take as many as you guys have. Housekeeping business number 2. There's like a super obvious Dune joke when you were talking about the Switch controllers in the bag, and I'm gonna help I'm gonna not make it to spare you guys who still have not seen Dune 2, but for everyone that has seen Dune, pretty funny, right? All right, part 3, the actual trivia.
Thanks for
question
sparing us
for today. Yeah. I just had to let everyone know that, like, I'm thinking about Dune,
Ellis is always thinking.
Yeah, if you're not in the office,
Dune is Roman Empire, dude.
Yeah, Dune, chili dogs,
Dune 2.
Dune 2, exactly. All right, question number 1. Those electro-permanent magnets from the hypothetical Switch controllers are pretty futuristic, huh? But what if I told you we have a device in our office right now that has them?
What room is it in?
It's we have a bunch of them all over the
What
office.
rooms are they in?
The central part of the office where everyone's desks are. And possibly floating around our sets too. What are they?
A bunch. How much is a bunch?
How many would you say we have in the office?
Okay, that already answers my question.
Okay. Yeah. Enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not hundreds.
What if we pick a different one?
That has an electropermanent magnet in it?
Yeah.
I would be impressed.
Yeah, I would be impressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think David and I forgot that we're supposed to throw it to the break.
Support for this show comes from Netsuite. Support. We all need it sometimes, from a friend, from a family member, or if you're a business, from a cloud financial service. While NetSuite may not be able to give you a warm hug, it can help support your businesses by cutting operations expenses and putting that money into your margin. NetSuite is a top-rated cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform and one source of truth. With NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud with no hardware required, accessed from anywhere. You cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one unified business management suite. You improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, and you can get the support you need for your business with NetSuite. By popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Head to netsuite.com/waveform. netsuite.com/waveform. That's netsuite.com/WAVEFORM. Waveform.
Support for the show comes from Anthropic. Companies of all sizes are exploring use cases for AI and finding that it's not a one-size-fits-all game. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and intelligence. Like if you're powering a customer chat experience, you need instant speed at low cost. If you're doing complex R&D or advanced analysis, you need frontier intelligence. Claude 3 from Anthropic offers AI models for a variety of tasks and budgets. Claude 3 Opus is their largest and most powerful model that can handle complex tasks and analysis. Sonnet strikes the balance between information and speed. And Haiku is the fastest and most cost-effective model that can execute lightweight actions fast. Anthropic's dedicated to building AI systems that are reliable, interpretable, and steerable. Their multidisciplinary team of researchers, engineers, policy experts, and business leaders designed Claude to elevate the field of generative AI. See for yourself. Join the thousands of enterprises who use Anthropic to navigate this new frontier. Visit anthropic.com/Claude, CLAUDE, today. Jumpstart your genius with Claude 3 by Anthropic.
All right, welcome back. We had a very big, also very small Apple event this week. It was about 40 minutes long, and they talked mostly about new OLED iPads and also new iPad Air and also new Apple Pencil Pro and also new Magic Keyboard. Definitely a lot to talk about. I think we'll just start with the iPad Air and just kind of move on from there. We'll kind of go in the direction that they went in.
Let's kick things off with iPad Air.
We got a new iPad Air. We got an 11-inch model and a 13-inch model. The last models of iPad Air were actually 10.9 inches, so having two new iPad Airs, big sizes, small sizes, is pretty cool. M2 chip, which I found a little bit weird considering it's a little old now, but my guess is that M2 was specifically the generation of chip that sold really badly. And so I think that they're probably just have a ton of extra stock in that, and that's what they're putting in the iPad Air.
I think that I'm assuming your theory on that is M1, we've talked about it a million times before, is this like crazy generational awesome jump, and then M2 is like cool, but if you have M1, it's a little spec bump pretty much. And so like M2 is going to be the worst selling. iPad Air has only had M1 in it since, so like this is still an upgrade for that.
Yeah,
but it's just further down the line.
Yeah, cool. Totally. They've got some new colors, space gray, blue, purple, starlight. They say it's 50% faster than the M1 Air, whatever the heck that means on an iPad, because who cares? They actually said the word AI fairly frequently during this.
More than anyone expected.
Yeah, which is very interesting. It works with the new Magic Keyboard. It works with Apple Pencil Hover. They upgraded the Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi 6E. And now it gets up to a terabyte of storage, and instead of starting at 64 gigabytes, it starts at 128, which is nice.
I find it funny that over the last couple of announcements we've had of a lot of different things, we are way less excited about the like highest storage you can get, and way more excited that they're just taking away these like pathetically low amounts of storage on some things.
Yeah.
So that is great that we don't have a 64 gig iPad.
The fact that it came in 64 gigs before was insane. Truly insane.
It really, like here, having an M1, like this super powerful chip that's arguably more powerful than a lot of computers and laptops out there, and enjoy your 64 gigs of storage on that.
Totally insane. So those start at $599 and $799. But the more exciting, more new models this year was the iPad Pro.
Before we get there, real quick, what is Apple doing with their colors? I feel like they are just Alex said when we were watching it, it's just like they're just taking away saturation every year, it feels like. Yeah. And I get that pastels are cool and stuff, but like an iPad to me seems like one of those things that can be really fun. Like the iPad and the iMacs, I loved what they did with those. Like, those are the more fun, less like really intense. Yeah. At least the Air. Let me have some cool colors. These are all basically look the same. I think we were looking at footage Marques took, and Tim was making a thumbnail on it and gave Marques the thumbnail. And he's like, I thought this was the blue one. And Tim was like, I thought it was the silver one. And then he was like, maybe it's the pink one. Like they literally couldn't figure it out because the lighting was so weird and they were trying to color correct for it.
Lighting,
yeah. So it just like they all look too similar.
This seems to be a thing that's happening across every tech industry where the super low end devices get a lot of fun colors, and then the high end devices either get boring colors or just a couple of colors.
Remember the 5C?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the lowest end iPad, which got a price cut and is now $349, those come in for much more saturated colors.
Yeah. Do you think if they redid those this year, they would have toned them down? Or
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that they see it as like the cheapest one is going to be the one you get for your kids, and kids like bright, colorful things.
Man, us grown-ups like having fun too.
I know.
If you don't know about that.
Yeah, and usually like they will release one kind of fun color for a high-end model. Like Samsung will do one fun color, Google will do one fun color.
I think Samsung did a bunch of Samsung lately has been doing like the fun colors as like the online exclusive ones, which is like, okay, I guess that's one way to get people to get cool colors, but like,
they had an orange S24.
I love my orange S24. I think it looks fantastic, and I bought it immediately because I thought that was the cooler one.
But you have the orange one?
Yeah.
What?
I wanted the orange.
Or is mine the orange one? Or I think
so. Yeah, you did get
this. Looks so good.
I wanted that ultra color so bad,
but you didn't get it from Samsung.
Yeah, I didn't get it from Samsung.
Google Fi, right?
So they didn't have it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, look how cool that color is. I don't know. It's been in your case for so long that I
think even in the case though, oops, I put it in backwards.
You can
you get some of the rails on the back here that looks nice, and it pokes through on the front.
I agree. I think Michael Fisher might have done a video about why all the high-end devices have boring colors, because he did an interview with some higher ups at Samsung about it, and it had to do with like they only really sell black and silver and white, and nobody buys the fun colors, which is weird.
I'm sure the sales are against what we are saying, and like I'm sure Apple knows that if like better colors would sell better, they would do
small phones. It's like we want things, but the general mass does not.
Luckily, channel sponsor D-Brand is probably like, thank God they're not doing any cool colors.
Yeah,
Let's
fair enough.
throw some cool colors on there.
But. Yeah, so pretty boring. That's like a kind of middle of the road, because like I said, they just cut the price of the standard iPad to $350, which pretty affordable. So, if you want the new Air, it's kind of like that in-between model. But the more interesting iPads are the iPad Pro, obviously, also coming in 11-inch and 13-inch. Prior, it was 11 and 12.9.
Which I think is funny, because when they said 13-inch, I don't know if it's just their marketing or everyone saying like, iPad in 13, I'm so pumped about it. And I was like, yeah, bigger iPad. And then someone said, what was the last size? And 12.9. Wait, what? That is basically the same thing. Why am I this excited? So marketing's working. No.
Yeah, the marketing's working. These are the thinnest Apple devices ever made, at least the 13 inches. So the 11-inch model is 5.3 millimeters, and the 13-inch model is 5.1 millimeters. And they made a big deal that it is thinner than the iPod Nano.
I had this thought this morning. Which iPod Nano did they show?
It was like...
I thought it was the iPod Nano 7, which is the long one.
It was the long one.
Okay. Yeah. Is it thinner than this 6th gen one? Because this is all I could think about. They said how little it is.
I mean, maybe with the clip included.
Okay.
Because the clip adds width, and maybe they didn't compare it against that.
It is... Like, it looks crazy thin. So, and I don't have the specs for this, so it very well could be thin. Oh yeah, that clip on there. I can't believe they
made that product. That's amazing.
This is a cool product.
Such a cool product.
I thought this was awesome. Like, just enough screen for music browsing. That's all you needed.
The little square iPod Nano with the headphone jack. You could clip it onto your pants,
or even on like your shirt. It's
the pin.
It's
before
the AI pin.
The pin. It's the AI pin.
It does just as much.
It's the iPin. The iPin. The Apple iPin. So these are insanely thin iPads, which Jerry Rig Everything is going to have fun with. One of them is 0.98 pounds, and the other is the 11 inches 0.98 pounds, and the other one is 1.28 pounds.
They're also different. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
They're also different thicknesses, weirdly.
Yes. Yeah, the 13 inch is thinner, which is strange.
Yes.
It's the bigger one.
by very minimal, but 5.3 to 5.1 millimeters. But on top of these two things, I think you said before the iPad Air is the boring announcement. This made it boring because the iPad Air was always the smaller, easier to carry one. These are now lighter and thinner than the iPad Air as the Pros.
They're lighter than the iPad Air.
Yeah.
There's so much irony in that.
That's very funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird now that they have an iPad and an iPad Air and they both look kind of the same because they have the same form factor now. So they're probably maintaining the Air branding because the MacBook Air was such a powerful brand name that they put it on the iPad. But at this point, like all of their products are thin and light, so it's kind of hard to,
I agree.
What does Air even mean anymore? They can't pull it out of an envelope.
I know. I like.
They could.
It's immediately just like one of the coolest marketing, like strategies ever. Was that envelope was so cool.
Yeah. It was.
Now you're pulling an iPad Pro out of it.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah. Okay. So they only come in silver and space black, which is exactly what I was saying. Like the Pro models are so boring in those colors, but they have some new technology. So there is a new screen technology they're using. They used to be using mini LED in the 12.9 inch Pro model. Now they're using a technology called tandem OLED. And basically, OLED technology is like this interesting technology that has all these pros and cons where individual pixels can light up because they're self-illuminating. And that allows you to have a bunch of the pixels off if the screen is black in those areas, which means you have like an infinite contrast ratio. You get a bunch of blacks. Previously, they used mini LED, which was like these tiny, tiny, tiny LED arrangements, which gave you all these different lighting zones, and it was like a lot better than standard LED. But they really wanted to go OLED eventually. The problem with OLED is twofold. One, there's a thing called burn-in, which we've been seeing in a lot of phones over the last number of years, where if you put too much current through and make them too bright or have them on for too long, it will burn into the screen and you will see like the remnants of that in the display.
It's also a reason why like LG OLED TVs always have like super aggressive like screensavers, because if you like pause a video or something within like a couple minutes, that like firecracker screensaver will come up because they don't want you to just burn in the YouTube player. Or
exactly. And then the other thing is that OLED is traditionally pretty hard to get bright.
Okay.
So it's hard to like make those super bright. So they have been developing this technology called tandem OLED, which is basically two OLED displays just on top of each other. So this way they're able to get twice the brightness and they're able to mirror the exact brightness that they had in the mini LED one. So it's 1,000 nits for SDR and HDR content and 1,600 nits for peak brightness. But this time it's coming to both models.
Cool.
Last generation, it was the 11-inch had an LCD display and only the 12.9-inch had the mini LED display.
Okay.
So that actually leaves a lot of questions to be had because they are $300 different, which they have the exact same specs. The only difference is that the 13-inch is thinner by 2 millimeters, and that's the only thing.
And then the screen is
and
bigger.
The screen
size.
Obviously. But it's $300, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it feels like that's a huge leap for just slightly bigger, but also I kind of feel like if you're buying the Pro, you're probably not as worried about your money as possible. And if you really want something that is larger, I think people will throw $300 at it. I don't know if that means it should be $300 more, but
yeah,
I think people will buy it.
I mean, yeah, they probably will buy it. I feel like I would be more likely to buy the 11-inch since it's $1,000 versus $1,300.
I totally agree. I also think I would prefer 11-inch better than a huge tablet. I don't think I want something as small as like a mini.
Right.
I know there's plenty of people who would love a mini Pro.
Yeah.
Ellis isn't paying attention. Or
Sorry, I was curious.
No,
it's some nerd stuff.
Were you looking up the tandem OLED stuff? I was looking it up this morning.
I was curious if you needed a second set of electrodes in a tandem OLED setup. You don't. At least my prelim research. Because you see, guys, an OLED screen is
to be fair, and this might sound really stupid, but it's like when they said tandem OLED, they're basically saying two OLED screens. I'm like, how much more expensive this is going to be? Because it's kind of like two screens.
But it's not like two screens.
That's why
because
it's a dumb question.
Because an OLED, what separates an OLED screen from a mini LED screen, I mean, other than the OLED light sources being like way tinier, is that a mini LED screen is like this array of these discrete transducers that are like generating light when they accept current. An OLED screen is like it's a film of organic compounds that when exposed to a current generate light similar to a diode. And so what you do is you put an anode and a cathode on either side of that film, and then you're sending current through at specific points, and typically you make the anode black and the cathode transparent, and then the light hits your eyeballs. So really all you need to do is take a second film with those carbon diodes and also put it between that anode and cathode, and then just kick up the juice a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's not like having two displays. It's more like having 1 1/3 display.
Okay.
Yeah, and the benefit is you're not putting more current into an individual display. You're like putting it into both, so you get less burn-in this way.
Oh, okay.
It's much less likely to get burn-in because you're not like putting more current through it.
And I'm also assuming they're doing, I might be wrong, Ellis, do you know of any TVs that do this tandem OLED?
No, this is the only product.
Okay, so, and I'm assuming that is, you said to increase brightness because we don't take our TVs outside, where we're taking an iPad outside, and you generally need obviously much higher brightness.
What I read
for
this
it to be
morning said that
reasonable
this
outside.
was the first display in the world that uses tandem OLED.
It might be, but I'm seeing scientific papers about stacked OLED displays going back like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I read is that the technology was just super expensive, and that Apple basically used mini LED as like a filler in between getting to this technology cheap enough.
Makes sense. Also, I need to correct something I said earlier. Earlier, I said the cathode is transparent and the anode is not. On TVs, it's the other way around. The cathode is not transparent. The anode is transparent.
I caught that, but I was just going to let you take the heat on that one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
I just want to say we have not mentioned the most important upgrade to these iPads. The FaceTime camera is on the correct side.
Yeah.
Finally.
So they moved. Yeah. So they finally moved because the last generation in the cheaper iPads, they moved the FaceTime camera to the horizontal edge. But in the more expensive ones, they didn't, which seemed insane. Now it's on the horizontal edge. So when you're doing a FaceTime call and your iPad is like horizontal, you can actually, it won't be over here.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't
the side of your face.
make that connection where the Pro model is much more likely to be put onto some sort of stand and be used for like landscape
As
mode
a computer.
than the cheap model, which is probably like
Just be
more
carried around.
kids and older people
But
like
they
just
did it the
holding
other
it
way
up and doing. Yeah, that's very funny.
Yeah, it's funny. So, okay. Also, there's going to be a nano texture glass option, but it's only available on the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models of the Pro. And it's an extra $100. And Marques got to see it. Mm-hmm. He said it was pretty weird because it's sort of like that paper-like film that you can put on your iPad. So it gives it like kind of that texture and it cuts down on glare. But that's also cutting down on sharpness and brightness.
He said contrast and sharpness, I think.
Contrast and sharpness. So you're really like, I feel like that's specific. They're really targeting like professional artists who use iPads for that because like why else would you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a position where you get a lot of glare and it's bad. To be fair, in the video when he showed it and the lights were showing, like the glare does look significantly reduced. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, I guess if you're in a position, also an iPad feels like something that would be the easiest to pull away from glare because of how mobile it is. But yeah, I don't know who exactly that's targeted at.
Yeah, I personally think that it would be better to just buy one of those paper-like displays because then you can take it off if you don't like it.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Or like maybe if you're looking to upgrade your iPad, maybe buy one for your current iPad and see what it affects before making the purchase decision of that.
Right. But considering it's only available on the 1 and 2 terabyte models, I'm guessing that they're like hardcore like artists that store a ton of stuff locally on their iPad.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For an artist, is there a reason why you think it would be them just because you're losing like sharpness or you're saying like artists because like
because
if you're doing
like
vector imaging,
it has a little bit of a texture to it, and the reason that people buy the paper-like thing is because it makes it feel more like writing on paper. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
we do not have any XDR displays with the anti-glare. Does it?
Mine has it.
Do you feel like it looks different?
My studio display.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Do you guys feel a difference when you look between the monitors?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Well, Ellis is looking at audio, so
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah. Also, something there's a bunch of little small things that I like dug up this morning. Now that it's been long enough after the event, we're getting a new M4 chip in these iPads, which I think we should talk about a little bit. The fact that it's very weird to launch their brand new chip that's like focused around AI and like tops of performance in a thing that needs no more power than it already has.
Totally agree.
Like, why?
They've always been kind of strange in how what products they release these new chips in. I felt like, because was it like M2 or M3? One of the first things it was in was like a 13-inch MacBook Pro and like the Touch Bar MacBook Pro when it was like already, and then the MacBook Air had like a new design. And
yeah,
I don't remember exactly what that is, but it's never been the cool Pro version that feels like it needs the most compute power.
I think it's because they'd have to launch the Pro, like M2 Pro and M2 Max with it.
Yeah.
And they don't always do that. Usually they just do an architecture jump and just put it in some cheaper products, and then they later release the Pro stuff.
Do you think there's any part of that to be like, well, now the non-Pro version has this bigger chip, so it might be more powerful than my Pro version, so I can buy the more powerful version, and then now you have a half-life, a half a year update each year? Because like Marques, when he had before he decided that like M1 was going to be totally fine for him, he had like the M1 MacBook Pro, and then like the M2 MacBook Air came out, I think, and there was this like, well, that's technically better.
Yeah.
Are you going to get it? Like there's that thought process of like, this is the more powerful machine, even though it's not the Pro version.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the thing
goading people into it.
I don't know. I mean, it's been like there was no new iPads released last year. And that's the longest that they've gone without updating the iPad ever. And so maybe they just figured like, okay, we got to update the iPad. And my hot take is that Qualcomm is announcing, well, they're releasing their first X Elite laptops in like, there's a Microsoft event later this month that everyone assumes is going to release the X Elite stuff. And Asus was like teasing like an AI PC thing. So I think all this stuff's going to come out. At Qualcomm's Tech Summit back in October, they made a bunch of like performance metric comparisons, and it seems like it like outperforms M3. So by like a certain amount of percentage. So I'm assuming that they are just like getting the M4 out the door so that they can say we still have the fastest ARM chips on the market.
Something that would back that claim up is there are quite a few things they announced that were coming as features or software for this that aren't coming out till later this summer, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite, let's announce it, enjoy it later, but buy now.
Yeah.
So like that would kind of back up your claim on that. But it also feels weird just like, when is Apple really giving a damn about what other people are doing?
Yeah.
And again, like if they're doing that to be like, we're better than you, and then iPad actual owners are like, we don't need this.
Yeah.
We don't need this.
It is a weird device to release it in. They were making a bunch of these like instant background removal demos and all this stuff that it can do because it's very focused on AI performance. They have all these machine learning cores.
That was you're talking about
Neural
in
cores.
Final Cut Pro where it was like essentially rotoscoping out the person
like
dancing.
instant
Right?
rotoscoping.
I would love to see that in real time because that seems extremely powerful if it works that well. Obviously, the examples are always going to look perfect, but
DaVinci Resolve actually has a lot of
Does it
those
have-
features. So yeah,
that's stuff you used to have to hire people to like do, and now an iPad can potentially do it in one click.
which is crazy. Other stuff about the M4. It also has a new display engine that enables 10 to 120 hertz ProMotion support. So these iPad Pros will go down to 10 hertz. Previously, they only went down to 24 hertz.
Okay.
So that's a little slower. I would love for them to eventually go down to 1, like a lot of the smartphones that we see, so that, you know, you could use it as an e-reader or something and not worry about draining your battery, but whatever. There are 4 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. But as we found out, only the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte have all 4 performance cores, and if you get any of the other models, they only have 3 performance cores. They're binned.
Fun.
Which they didn't say.
No.
And you can only see
Why would
that
they
if
say
you
that?
go on the Apple website and look at the specific specs, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure there's reasonings, and there have been in the past, but it's always weird when the storage option seems to change like performance things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, and then the other thing is that they also didn't say is the 256 and 512 options are 8 gigs of RAM, and the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte are 16 gigs of RAM, which is like a huge difference.
Yeah.
And they didn't mention that either.
I mean, ultimately it has to come down to just like SKU numbers, and hey, it's just easier if we assume somebody with wanting more storage is going to want a little more power, and those people are willing to spend money. So let's just, rather than have all this customization of like 16 gigs of RAM but 256 of storage, like we don't need to make those.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate if you don't need a terabyte of storage.
Well, I also find some irony in that, because part of the reason that the M series laptops are so good is that you can get less RAM because of the insanely fast swap memory.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get the lower storage options, then you get less RAM, so you have less swap memory available. But if you have the higher storage options, you have more swap memory available. So
it's all confusing, and
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like they're gunning like buy the expensive one.
Yeah,
Come on.
I guess. But then you're paying like $2,000 for
Yeah,
an
no, it's like
iPad.
$2,500 is the most
The
expensive.
most expensive,
one.
I think, was like $2,600 or something like that, which is crazy.
Wild.
Like, just get a
$2,600
14-inch
iPad.
MacBook Pro, please. Okay, they quietly got rid of a camera.
And it almost felt like
And said
intention.
nothing.
But it felt like they were trying to, by adding that LiDAR sensor, by almost looking like a camera.
Yeah.
I feel like that camera bump is the most like disorganized, unaesthetically pleasing camera bump Apple has ever done.
Yeah.
Just nothing matches. Everything is like a different circle or color. It felt off. It felt like the models that we get that just have like fake glass and fake cameras on the back.
Yeah,
It was strange.
they're all matte. So instead of like on the iPhone where you have like the clear glass bump, it's like just matte metal bump.
Yeah.
It just feels very strange. But yeah, they got rid of a camera, which is super weird. I was thinking that they would, realign them like they did with the iPhones for spatial video.
Yeah.
Your grandma could take spatial video at the baseball game.
You need a Vision Pro for that.
Yeah. But no, we just have one 12 megapixel camera for 4K video. They added a true tone flash for document scanning. So
Okay.
now it like takes a bunch of different flashes to kind of adaptively create a image of a document that isn't shadowed in any way.
That doesn't feel like because like scanners are the worst. We all just want to take pictures, but pictures look like pictures a lot
There's
of
an
the times.
app called Google Photo Scan that's been out for like a decade, and it had this feature where you would it would have these 4 dots, and you'd move your phone, and it would take 4 images so that the shadows were all different, and then it would stitch them together and create a PDF from that.
How's that not just a default camera option in every phone available?
I think Samsung phones have always had photo scanners.
I'm gonna have to look at that because I did not know about that.
Yeah, Samsung has a bazillion features. built in.
That-
Probably
what phone has
all
a
made.
built-in photo scanner?
What?
The
Boox
Boox Palma, baby.
It's not a phone. It's not a phone. Yeah. Yeah. Probably all made by the CyanogenMod people while they were
Yeah,
working at
right.
Samsung.
Can we just look at this camera bump? Is that 5 different diameter circles?
Yes.
Every single circle is a different size.
Yeah.
And that just looks so un-Apple.
It is really weird.
It's
And nobody knows if this is the LiDAR, nobody knows what that other circle is. Because there's a flash, there's a microphone, there's a LiDAR, there's a camera, and then nobody knows what that last one is.
and nobody's
I haven't
said
seen
anything
online about what it is.
Okay, I just went on the most ridiculous deep dive of my whole entire life. And yes, while literally every news outlet is reporting that this is the first device with a tandem OLED screen, that just does not seem like anywhere near the truth. LG claims that they started mass producing tandem OLED screens in 2019.
But is it called tandem OLED or
Yeah,
stacked OLED?
they use the term tandem OLED.
Oh, wow.
But do they put them in anything?
It seems to me that they were putting them in cars. So it seems like Apple is going to get away with saying they're the first to do this because it seems like LG doesn't want anyone that's using them to announce they're using the tech. But it does not seem anywhere near the first device. Maybe if you don't count automotive displays as displays, you can...
All right. That's about it for the iPads. There's also a new thinner and lighter Magic Keyboard that they said makes it feel just like a MacBook. Because it's made of aluminum. It's got the...
Dude, this is just a MacBook.
Yeah.
What's a computer?
What's a computer?
I
know.
don't get it.
Yeah, it's made of aluminum. It's got the function row. It has haptic feedback for the trackpad. It seems like they literally ripped the bottom off of a MacBook and like turned it into a Magic Keyboard, which
I'll go against the grain. I don't like this. To me sounds like I guess because it's not Mac OS, but like I hate 2-in-1s because I think they're just stupid. I think I'd rather have like if I was more focused on the tablet part of a 2-in-1 and having this accessory, despite it being $350
for the 13-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, like this accessory that does make it a little worse laptop, but close to a laptop and functionality of a laptop, and I still get my really nice iPad Pro. I'd take this over a 2-in-1.
Yeah. I want to try it. But it can apparently now push 40 watts through those pins that the iPad floats on, which is pretty crazy.
That's nice.
But yeah, $300 for the 11-inch and $350 for the 13-inch, which, by the way, that makes this keyboard, if you buy the 13-inch keyboard, the same price as the baseline iPad.
Nice.
Which is crazy. Yeah, so it's
and everyone gets mad at Andrew for spending $300.
I was gonna say maybe I've just spent $300 on too many keyboards before.
That's fair.
This doesn't seem that wild.
That's fair. But yeah, it starts at $999 and $1299, which again, very big price jump.
Instead of making it Mac OS, they're just like taking all of their apps and putting it on iPad, like Final Cut and Logic and everything.
You mean Final Cut for iPad 2? That confused our entire office for a while.
Yeah, this is very confusing. They announced three new apps actually. They announced Final Cut for iPad 2, which is weird because Final Cut for iPad didn't come out that long ago and it was missing a bazillion features and is a monthly subscription and sucks in a lot of ways.
It was also confusing how they said it because what they said was with 2 new apps, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro 2.
Yeah.
To me, that is Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro 2.
Yeah.
Then we started thinking it was called Final Cut Pro 2, and then we got very worried that maybe they were going to do a Final Cut Pro 2 for the Mac and then charge people again.
Right.
But then somebody was like, wait, why is this called iPad 2? And it's like, no, it's called Final Cut for iPad 2.
Yeah. Which, why are they doing that? I don't know. Final Cut for iPad 2?
If you hover over it on that, will that pop up and say Final Cut for iPad 2?
Probably.
I don't know. Maybe we just think this is dumb. This might feel like one of those things that just seems so simple, but that confused
the first one did not come out that long ago, and it was missing a million features that they said they were going to add and didn't add. And it seems like the only benefit of Final Cut for iPad is to like start putting clips together on a train so that when you get home you can like then bring it into your MacBook. But that's a $5 a month subscription, which is insane.
I've spent worse for $5 a month.
I just see it as so useless.
Well, another thing they announced, which was something we got excited for, then we're promptly not excited about, was
Final Cut camera.
The Final Cut Live Cut camera.
Yeah.
Which when they first said it said you can live cut up to 4 cameras. So all of us were like, can we live cut the podcast now using an iPad? That sounds so cool. But you have to install an app called
Final Cut Camera
Live, I think. Just Final Cut Camera. And it's only on iPhones and iPads. So you can switch between up to 4 cameras that are on iPhones or iPads.
Yeah.
So this podcast will now be shot on all iPhones. No, iPads. We should all use iPads.
iPads. Yes, it's one of each of our grandparents holding an iPad.
Yeah. All my grandparents are dead.
Mine too.
Same.
Nice.
So how many grandparents do you have?
All 4, but no, I got 3.
3? That's all we need.
Dude, yeah.
3 cameras.
Bring them in.
Yeah, bring them in.
All right.
Okay.
We're taking over the podcast. Me and my ancestors.
So yeah, this was so weird. They showed they were like shooting this climbing video and they had 4 different people with iPhones in cages, like taking video, and then they had one person on the iPad, and they were basically live editing a video by switching between the iPhone cameras.
When this showed on the screen, everyone in the studio just turned and looked at me. And was like, can we do this on the podcast?
Yeah.
This is just the dumbest thing ever.
It seems so over-engineered, and I don't know.
This is like Apple's perfect world where they're like, nobody will ever have a dedicated camera ever anymore. and everyone will use their iPhone for everything.
Dude, for
and
live
movies,
streaming though.
but nobody uses 4 iPhones to do live streaming.
But you couldn't before. Now you can.
Who cares?
Well, can you live stream from the Final Cut app into like a service?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, even if it wasn't built into the app, you could just get a capture card and a dongle.
True.
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit with Ellis if he's playing it with me. But
Yeah.
I think there's definitely scenarios. First of all, if we want to always tell people, go make content with what you have, and what you have is an iPhone, it's hard to knock this
No.
because
Now you need 4 iPhones and an iPad Pro.
Yeah.
That's
a lot more
It is
expensive
more.
than
Yeah,
just a
it
bunch
probably
of
is
gear.
more expensive than a nice camera
Yeah.
and a microphone. But
I get it though, because like when this was first announced, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool for like video podcasts, because you could be like, hey, 3 friends, come over with your iPhones, just set it up and we'll use the iPhones. But again, this isn't a cheaper alternative to something. Like you can already do that with free software and whatever iPhone you currently have. So
it'll be easier.
yeah.
And the way they were showing it off was like doing live cutting from the iPad. And it's like, are you going to have a producer for your podcast where you live cut?
I think there's a scenario
I'm not
like,
available.
if I had to find the scenario where I think this works best, it's just that video is just like so important for any type of business and marketing right now. So if you're a smaller business that can't afford a production team or production equipment or like even really a social media manager, maybe there's some way that you want to actually do some sort of online marketing, and chances are there's 4 iPhones in your work. And if you can convince those people to connect them up with Final Cut camera, you could probably do some content. Like, and I had to dig for that.
That's a good point.
I don't love this thing that much. I don't see me ever using it, but I do think there is some scenarios. Social media is just way too powerful these days, and it's some of the best marketing out there.
Look. I'm going to play devil's advocate too here.
Like Final Cut too?
Devil's advocate for iPad too.
But assuming, and I know this is a big assumption, gargantuan assumption, just huge assumption.
Okay.
But assuming this Final Cut camera for iPhone can stream wirelessly to the iPad in 4K, and you can have multiple 4K streams, how much do you think a standalone dedicated hardware 4K switcher would cost?
We've looked into this before.
Oh, I know.
$229.
I thought it was like 10,000+.
Okay, neither of you are even close. That was hilarious. It's about $1,800 for a 4K switcher, and then probably another $1,000 for an actual controller to use it.
David was way closer than I was.
I was
But
going to
it's
say
still
relatively.
So for like the $2,200, you're all in on a 4K switcher. You could get almost a top of the line iPad, which could do everything else too, assuming it's 4K.
Yeah. My ultimate question is, would there be some way of us taking a professional camera with a video output as like an external monitor into an iPhone, and then the iPhone would be able to cast that into the iPad, and then you could live switch? I have a feeling the answer is no.
But if it's yes, dude, that changes everything.
That would be
dude, what?
Honestly, it would
that would be so
more iPhone
cool.
sales. Now we have to buy an iPhone for each one of our cameras.
No, dude, no. We could literally, we could throw out our Terra deck and we could just use iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Wireless, dude, the amount of headaches wireless video causes this studio. Like if we could do what you just described.
That's the other question, is what is the range of this wireless video? To be fair, they were rock climbing and they were up on the wall, and he was live switching.
Yeah, and
I know they never lie on those.
Yeah, exactly.
situations.
Yeah, there wasn't the scene where the rock climber like goes to the gym employee and is like, "What's the Wi-Fi so I can do my camera switch."
I love Rocks 2024s.
Right. That's what it is at every gym, right? It's like it's the law.
It's almost all, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much like, I love where I am the year.
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
So yeah. Anyway, this Final Cut 2 for iPad 2. They didn't really announce a lot of new features for it, which is the other thing that was weird. They barely talked about it. They said that there was like the instant rotoscoping.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of all they talked about.
To be fair, that if that works like that, is a fantastic.
Yeah, and they should have just put it in Final Cut for iPad 1.
Not wrong.
They also announced Logic for iPad 2, or just Logic Pro 2, maybe just
Logic Pro
2.
for iPad 2?
I don't know. I think it was just 2. Ellis, do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you want to talk about what they added to Logic Pro 2?
They added a bass guy and a keyboard guy, to complement the drum guy. People like the drum guy.
Oh, the drum guy was there already.
Can you explain what that is?
Man,
Like you did to me yesterday.
Yeah. So essentially, like, if you don't want to program drums in a track you're working on, you can open up this thing. I think they call it the Studio Drummer. I don't use it for work here, but you have this sort of like grid that has a bunch of parameters, like an XY grid, and then you tell it, you place this little dot on and it'll just like play drums along with your music. And because it's Apple, all of the different drummers have like names. I can't remember what them, but like if you want like the rock drummer, you have to like choose Scott. And if you want like the dance drummer, you choose.
I thought you meant the rock, like the Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, like
no.
Oh, the pop rock is Kyle, retro rock is Logan.
Why?
Hard rock is Anders. Yeah, so it's like this thing, and it actually works well. Like it's tasteful drums. It sounds real enough to like use for a demo. So they've opened this up to bass and keys.
Is it a set beat or something, or is it listening to what you've created and creates based on that?
You're in Logic Pro already, so Logic knows the tempo of your song, because when you're making music in a computer, you're almost always locked to the grid. So you've already set the tempo. It knows that. It's gonna look at your MIDI and potentially your audio too, and sort of be like, okay, like this is a section. He's got a bunch of instruments coming here. There should probably be a fill right here. I believe you could also tell it to like switch, like go to the hi-hats here. And then you're giving it a bunch of info, like, I want you to play big fills. I want you to play simple, quiet stuff. It's a cool feature. It's, I wasn't like, this is the best. I've been waiting for the bass guy, you know. But
what is the situation on this, on if you are producing that music and selling it or using it?
I don't think
YouTube material.
I don't think they take any.
There's no copyright. Like, what are the chances it creates something extremely similar as someone else, and then can you copyright that music?
That's not really how music copyrights work. You can't
disagree.
You can't. As far as I'm aware, you can't really copyright a specific like instrumental figure in a song. You can copyright melodies for sure. And that's sort of where drums are nice, because they're inherently amelodic. I don't know. It feels like the how many monkeys in a basement does it take to type Shakespeare sort of thing. Like with the bass, like maybe eventually someone will get a famous bass line, but just like, Adam just Googled, did Fort Minor have to pay Apple? Was there a Fort Minor song?
So basically, Fort Minor, Remember the Name, that song is an Apple loop from GarageBand.
Really?
Yeah, so like that's just a loop. So I'm trying to figure out if they had to pay for
No. Loops have specific license agreements that you accept when you open the software that make it like they're royalty free. You can use loops. The big thing with loops, and I know we're getting way off topic, I'm going to get to the other Logic Pro thing, is that you're not allowed to redistribute them as loops. So you can't buy a loop pack and then sell those loops as like your original loops. You have to use them in a song. Okay, the other feature.
There's two more.
Two more?
Yeah,
I only remember one.
The stem splitter.
Yeah.
And there's the chroma glow toning.
Oh my God. That was like, okay, let's do the stem splitter first. Stem splitter, this is not new. The apps have been doing this for like 5 or more years. You give it a song and it gives you 4 audio files with all the different tracks. I have no idea. I'm sure it works because other people have been making this work for years. Apple is probably the best audio company on the planet, so not surprised. It's true. We all know it's true. Sorry. Who else is there?
Someone was very upset that you said the AirPods too.
Dude, I got so many like comments like, wow, you should fire him. Like, he clearly doesn't know anything about audio.
Wow.
They sound really good. And if you don't believe me that they sound really good, just like start researching to the degree to which they're tuned more than any other speaker you can buy. Like if they don't sound good, it's millions, hundreds of millions of dollars wasted. Chill. Okay, stem splitter. So yeah, it probably works. I don't know, man. Like, cool. I was like, that's pretty cool. Okay. The chroma glow.
Yeah.
That really confused me because they did the classic Apple thing where they were like, oh, this is going to change everything. Get ready. But like, I really didn't understand like what made it like. Is it not just a harmonic saturator?
Does what it is.
Do anything?
The marketing says ChromaGlow models the sound produced by a blend of the world's most revered studio hardware by leveraging AI and the power of M-series Apple Silicon. Users can dial in the perfect tone with 5 different saturation styles to add ultra-realistic warmth, presence, and punch to any track. They can also choose from modern clean sounds, nostalgic vintage warmth, or more extreme styles that can be shaped and molded to taste.
Can I have can we start a timer 2-minute explanation of this? Ready?
Wait, hold on. I gotta actually set the timer.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear this, just skip ahead.
Yes,
2
skip
minutes.
ahead 2 minutes. Okay, so people think old audio gear tends to sound better than new audio gear. And the reason that is because old audio gear has this thing that's called non-linearity. As you approach the loudest you can get, the loudness doesn't happen across all frequencies at the same rate. Typically, the lower frequencies tend to come out more, and this is due to this process called harmonic saturation. Think about one single frequency, a single sine wave, and then you add these little speckles of sine waves and these mathematical orientations up the frequency band, and your ears just hear it as like one warm, nice sound. If you add a lot of saturation, it stops sounding like saturation and it starts sounding like distortion. Clipping, like real audio clipping, is typically
There we go.
Clipping is typically the most extreme form of saturation where there's so many harmonics that the waves are actually getting cut off. Okay, so typically the way these things work is they're effectively giant audio LUTs. You take an old piece of gear, you run every frequency at every volume through it, and you make this giant lookup table of input to output, and then you can recreate that digitally. I would hope, since they're shoving the word AI down our throats every 5 seconds in this stupid that they're using an AI to somehow more smoothly and cleanly get around and through those lookup tables. I don't know. Maybe they're using AI to blend those lookup tables. Maybe they're not using AI at all, and they're just doing what other audio companies have been doing for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
My take is that it's just...
Wait, my 2 minutes aren't up yet.
Continue, yeah.
30 seconds.
Was I excited that Apple is introducing a harmonic saturator? Not really. Like, I have tons of killer harmonic saturators that don't claim to use AI already in my workflow. And also, I'm not really making music here that often, so I don't use them very much. So I got a big nope on this one. But if anyone can explain to me why it should be a dope, I'll take it.
Time's up. Nice.
All right. Sorry, David.
My take is that it's just machine learning that they've been doing forever, and they are starting to reformat whenever they say they used to just say ML, they are now just starting to say AI because their services businesses are doing badly and their stock was not doing as well as they hoped, and they figure they can juice the stock if they just start saying AI, even if it's just regular machine learning. In my humblest opinion, if you are not using transformers, just call it machine learning, but that's just me. Okay. Cool.
One more thing.
Oh, I do have another.
Okay.
Well, so I just looked it up. It is Logic Pro for iPad 2.
Right, but not Logic Pro 2.
No. But they are updating Logic Pro to be called Logic Pro 11 on like Mac.
Is it 10 now?
Yeah.
Wasn't Final Cut Pro 10?
Yeah, so it's being updated to Logic Pro 11, which will be a free update for people who already have Logic Pro, or you can still buy it for the $300 or $200 one-time fee.
Yeah. Or their free trial lasts forever. So not
like
literally
WinRAR.
forever, but like a long time.
Okay, but you can also pay the $5 a month on the iPad, just like Final Cut, which terrible. I'm so over subscription fees. Anyway, so those were the 3 new apps that they introduced. Last thing, and I promise we'll get to trivia pretty soon, but they also introduced an Apple Pencil Pro, which, it was bound to happen.
Just another one on the most confusing lineup possible.
Yes.
You've looked, the Apple Pencil lineup is absurd. It makes no sense.
Yeah. So previously they had like a tap gesture that you could do to switch things. Now you can squeeze the pencil, which brings up a tool palette. They also put haptics in the butt of the pencil to vibrate when you're doing things so that you're supposed to have haptic interactions. I'm interested in how natural that feels, considering the haptic motor is in the back of the pencil, but that should be interesting. Also, they introduced a gyroscope, so you can change the orientation of your brush, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, I think it changes orientation. And also when you're doing, it looked like, I think in Hover, you can rotate it to select different things in this cool little menu.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on this Apple Pencil Pro. I make fun of the lineup, but this pencil is really cool. And there's a lot of cool stuff.
Adding like a Z-axis or a turning axis of orientation for interaction, I think is very cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get it so I can continue drawing smiley faces and stick figures.
Dude, to me, this is like watching this. It reminds me of a GoPro. Like a GoPro marketing, when I watch it, I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. I could be that cool. And then I buy it and I'm going 4 miles an hour down a ski slope. And the pencil is like, I want that, but I can't draw at all. So what would I ever use this for?
I think for artists that draw an iPad, it's cool because there are certain brushes that are like kind of just flat lines and they have this stroke. And so now that you have the orientation, you can like change the orientation when you start the stroke.
Yeah.
And the hover thing to select layers was pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. And then they worked with, what is the Procreate? They worked with Procreate to talk about like all the ways that they're using it because they're going to have an API for the gyroscope in the pencil, which is interesting. And Procreate has this new animation app called Procreate Create Dreams, where you can pull in a bunch of Procreate assets and like create insanely simple animations. And they were showing how you could be playing back the video and moving things in the video and turning the pencil, which would rotate the objects.
And when you say simple, you mean simple to do. Like they're ultra complex animations that you can do, but you can do them in an extremely simple way.
It's like simple keyframing, which is cool. So I think I actually think the Apple Pencil Pro is one of the coolest updates to this entire thing, to everything that's coming out. But that's going to be $129. It does work with the M2 iPad Air as well as the M4 iPad Pro. However, only those two models because they moved where the magnet array is for charging and apparently had to change the magnet array. I don't know if I completely buy that.
I mean, it's more of an excuse than just the like what every tech company does is like new product, new feature, you ain't getting it on the old ones. So at least there is somewhat of a hardware difference on why it needs to. And the magnet array changed because of where they moved the camera, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
$129.
That was basically the Apple event. You can pretty much pre-order everything right now if you want to.
You can pre-order it, get it soon, and then get the rest of the features sometime in the summer.
And then remember that the iPad doesn't do anything. So, yeah, you can spend a bunch of money and then watch Netflix.
Every time an iPad comes out, I want to buy one, and I realize I will only use it to watch movies.
Yeah, it's just like, why?
Speaking of iPad things, we forgot the most important thing, which is the sneakers that Tim Cook was wearing.
Right.
Were freaking dope.
Yeah.
Me and Alex
were trying designed on an iPad.
Well, yeah, they were designed by an iPad, which came out after. But Alex and I were trying to figure it out after the event, like what sneakers are those? And we just like really couldn't find them. They're apparently Nike Air Max 1s 86s that were designed on iPad. I just want to say sneakers app when.
But they only made one.
No. They tell you they made one.
Oh.
I'm telling Apple they need to make more.
How do you design something from 86?
Wait for it. Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Nice.
That's kind of a real question. It's just like that's generation style.
I think it's the model.
I guess. Yeah.
Cool, Tim.
So yeah, that's the Apple event. We'll do a quick trivia and ad break, and then when we come back, we will talk about the new Pixel 8a because there's so much hardware this week. But first, let's do trivia.
Trivia, dude. So, second question, how many times did Apple say AI during the iPad event? All right, that's it. Think over break.
Okay. Nice. All right. We'll be right back.
Support for Waveform comes from 1Password. Our brain loves a pattern, so coming up with random passwords every time we need one isn't really where we shine. Unless, of course, you're someone who doesn't really care and you've cycled through a handful of passwords since high school. And if that's you, then you don't need me to tell you that that's a terrible habit. You already know it might be time to get a password manager. Personally, I use 1Password because remembering passwords is the worst. We've all been there. You either have one password for everything that isn't secure, or you have multiple passwords, which is impossible to remember. And even if you do either of those, now you have to change your password every few months. And I wind up resetting my password more often than just actually remembering it. And 1Password totally eliminates that issue while being extremely secure. No more using your high school lunch number for your bank password. I know this was part of their script, but I legit used my old high school computer login for years as a password. 1Password generates as many strong, unique passwords as you need and securely stores them in an encrypted vault that only you have access to. So you, FYI, just need to remember one strong account password that protects everything else. Right now, listeners get a free 2-week trial at onepassword.com/waveform for your growing business. That's password.com/waveform for 2 free weeks. Don't let security slow your business down. Go to onepassword.com/waveform.
Support for this episode of Waveform comes from Shopify. Let's say you run a business. It doesn't really matter if you're selling deep sea fishing rods or huge buckets of slime. The goal is the same: connect with potential customers and turn them into buyers. Saying that is simple. Actually executing it is a lot more complicated. It requires patience, persistence, and the resources you need to keep growing. Resources like Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that can help your business grow no matter what stage you're at. So this platform makes it easier than ever to sell everywhere, combining a class-leading e-commerce platform with an adaptable in-person point-of-sale system. According to Shopify, they can help convert more browsers into buyers with a checkout process that performs 36% better than comparable commerce platforms. And when you factor in Shopify Magic, the platform's AI-powered helper, you can expect to sell more with less effort. So more than 10% of all e-commerce companies in the US have turned to Shopify to power their growth. See why for yourself today. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/waveform. So go to shopify.com/waveform now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/waveform.
All right, welcome back. The iPads clearly were not the only piece of hardware we had to talk about this week. We also got to talk about the Pixel 8a, which has been long rumored, is finally here. You can pre-order it now. Awkward device. That's the beginning of my dissertation.
What do you mean? It's so cool. They changed so much.
Yeah. It's basically a Pixel 8 with a slightly smaller display.
Rounder.
It's definitely a more round SpongeBob vibe.
That was the best reference in the Marques' video.
Yeah. So it's got a 6.1 inch display. It is now 120 hertz, which is nice.
And dynamic, right?
Dynamic.
Sorry.
Yeah. Because the 7A was 90. So it's nice to get 120. But again, it's dynamic, and there's only 2 options. There's 60 hertz static or dynamic up to 120. So, that's what you get. 40% brighter display, which I think is a big deal. It's nice that all the device manufacturers in the last couple of years have been jacking up the brightness of things.
For sure.
So this gets up to 1400 nits or 2000 nits peak, which is very nice. You get basically all of the AI features that you get in all the Google phones, which is really cool. This is the first A-series device with Gemini Nano on it, which is cool. They slightly bumped the battery to about 4,500 milliamp hours, which is an extremely slight bump. It was just about 4,400 milliamp hours last year.
45 looks better.
Yeah. Yeah. It has wireless charging up to 7.5 watts, which is pretty slow. There are 2 new colors. There is aloe, which is based on aloe vera. For those that don't know, it is a plant that you can scrape the plant and you get like a gel that you can put on sunburns, and it's good for your sunburns. You can also eat it.
Or drink it.
I'm not telling you that. Don't do that right now, just in case you're not supposed to. I'm pretty sure you can, but I'm not going to tell you that.
There is an aloe vera drink.
There's an aloe vera drink that I used to drink all the time for my co-op in the middle of the forest, and it was delicious. You should go try it if you have an opportunity.
I feel like, the other color is blue, and to jump in here, I feel like, bay, yeah. The 2 colors should have been aloe and
Vera.
The aloe gel, because sometimes there's that gel you can buy for suns after you get sunburn, and it's like this weirdo blue color
container.
Yeah. So like it could have been both. They both could have been aloe.
Yeah. Which is cool. Yeah. So the awkward thing about the Pixel 8a is that it's $500. The Pixel 8, literally up until the day of the Pixel 8a announcement, was $550 on sale, and it had been for a very long time. It has gone down as low as $500 on sale. So the only benefit you're getting to getting the A device is that you still get the 7 years of software updates. So technically this device is 6 months newer.
Yeah.
So you might get another software update.
Would you argue that like you're probably better off longevity wise of having the upgraded hardware and that lasting better?
Yeah, the hardware's not that much better. That's the
No, I'm saying like getting the 8.
Yeah, I know.
Is that okay?
Yeah, the hardware of the 8 is like you got a slightly brighter display. You've got glass. This one's plastic. So that, that's a difference. Technically, you got bigger camera sensors. You got faster charging and wireless charge. Actually, yeah, there's a lot of better stuff in the 8. So if the 8 goes back down in price to $550, which it probably will within a month when everybody forgets about the 8A, just get the 8. And the Pixel 9's coming out in October, which is only 5 months away now. So
well, wait, question for you guys. So when the 8 inevitably goes down again, do you think the 8A will go on sale?
No.
You don't think it'll go
Well,
down to like
not at the same time.
$350?
Right now, if you pre-order the AA, you get $100 in Google Store credit,
Which is worthless. So
yeah, which is
moving on.
worthless.
Well, if you use that to buy a Pixel 8.
Yeah, it's just a weird release. Like,
I've always thought the A is a weird release time.
Yeah.
I think they should all just be in the same lineup. It makes more sense. It's also weird that we go, I guess it makes sense 8A, 9, but like it almost always feels like by the time we're talking about the A version, we're also looking forward to the 9, which is a totally different, like in the year you get an 8 and a 9. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
no,
think it's confusing.
It's confusing. I agree. But technically that's available now. But just
Ships
by the
May
8.
14th.
Just by the 8.
Just by the 8.
Just by the 8.
By
So,
the 8.
I think that was the title of our video too. Was just
I
get the 8.
think, yeah.
So anyway, that's a thing.
I have one more thing, a question or an idea I had over the weekend that I want to pose to everyone before we wrap up the podcast.
No.
Cool. We'll be back next week. Thanks, you.
This is turning into a thing.
It is a
end
thing.
of every episode. It's just like Andrew's thought corner.
That's too much pressure for me. But
Dude,
we'll go 2
let's
weeks
make
in a
some
row.
music for it.
Oh, I like that.
If you make music for it, maybe I'll keep posing.
Using an iPad with Kyle, the drummer.
Okay, so I had a road trip up to Boston, and I love Android Auto, and I was using my maps on the way back home, and we were trying to find a coffee spot, and I hate how it like will show you restaurants or stuff that you want inside of Google Maps. Like it's kind of cool how it's like this is along your route, this is how much of a detour it's going to add, but it feels super limited. I've done ones where I've been like, all I want is breakfast that is in a drive-through that I don't have to get out of my car to get, but I'll type in restaurants and it'll just show me every restaurant, including ones that are like closed. Maybe not, I don't know. But so I think Google Maps or Apple Maps or Waze would be the best place for like some sort of voice-activated AI chatbot large language model where like in my car, I can be like, find me a restaurant within the next 40 minutes of driving that doesn't add more than 20 minutes to my route, that has a drive-through. Like there's so many things are there that like you can be like, hey, find me a restaurant and it'll bring you to one in like a mall. And you're like, I'm on a road trip right now. I don't want to go into a mall to pick up my food. So if I could be way more specific about what I want, like along the highway or a rest stop or like, I want this type of food, or if it has coffee, that's not a chain. Like I think all of those things are things that you could wrap into a suggestion base, especially along a route and understanding all the context.
Yeah.
To me, that feels like it would be the best spot that I would want this in right now.
What if I told you Google I/O is in like 3 weeks, and I bet that'll be there?
It's in 1 week.
Is it in 1 week?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Next week is the Google
What
I/O
is time?
podcast.
It'll be there
What
and
is
it'll
next week?
release with the chain link fence detection.
No, I like that though. That's a good idea.
That was just I feel like think about things you want to stop at quickly on your way somewhere and how specific you're thinking. Because you're not just thinking, I want coffee. You're probably like, I want a decent coffee, but I'm not willing to wait over an hour for that decent coffee. So then I'll settle for something. And I don't want it to add 20 minutes onto your, how long have you added an hour onto your ride? Because like you went a little farther for Taco Bell. More times than I can count.
Good God.
It's not always great at really actually picking on your route. I don't know.
Can I do the New York version of that?
Sure.
like I want it to know me, maybe even plug it into like my budgeting apps. And if I'm looking for coffee, I want it to set like a hard price limit. You know
That's
what I mean?
fair.
It's so easy to be in New York and like go get a great cup of coffee that's like $9. That sucks.
I think with breakfast also, where restaurants will only serve breakfast to a certain time. If I say I want breakfast drive-through and it's 10 o'clock, don't suggest me something that's 45 minutes
Right.
away because breakfast will be closed by then.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this though is that it requires Google Maps to be accurate.
Yeah, that's what I was
Well-
going to say is it needs like this metadata of locations about the things that they offer and like when
Which
they
changes
offer it.
all the time.
Are those
for
things not
restaurants.
available online though?
They probably are. So you'd have to have Google like scrape the menu page.
I
of
want them to do
every-
that. Scraping the menu page is exactly what I want. What if I'm like, I want a bacon, egg, and cheese and an iced latte at a drive-through within the next 30 minutes, and then it could show me where that is.
But
Yeah.
all the best places don't have like a menu website. It's like you have to click on their store, look at the pictures.
The
and someone
user
3
pictures.
years ago took a picture of the menu.
Scrape
I
it,
think a lot
baby.
of them have menu websites.
They
There's
should
a lot
at this
that
point.
don't.
A lot of them have it. I don't know.
Well, if they don't have it, then they're not getting suggested and losing business.
I will say Google Maps really needs to change the default view to open now because I always have to hit the open now button and it knocks out 3/4 of the available restaurants.
What is?
Oh.
Open
like that
now.
it's open?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, because like if you want to go somewhere at like 8 p.m., I'll be like food near me and it shows all this food and then I like click on a thing and it's like closed. Like cool.
I have it saying like this closes at 9 and your ETA is very close to that. Like, are you sure you still
Yeah,
want to
it
go
does
here?
that. It
Okay,
does
but
that.
when
if
you're
it's
in the
already
selection,
closed, it still offers it to you. And then when you click on it, it's like, oh, but it's
and then you have
closed.
to go back and find something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's an open now toggle that you can hit. And
AI. Have you heard of AI?
Oh my god.
Have you? I don't know if we've talked about it this episode.
David, do you know-
It feels like AI could change that.
Do you know
Bitcoin
who
solves
invented
this.
the transformer by any chance?
Yeah, it was Google.
Well,
So they should do it.
That was my thought
Cool.
experiment.
Let's get to the trivia questions and see how we do.
My beautiful lights don't work. I have to fix them. I don't understand why.
We'll get
Trivia.
I'll get around to it. All right.
All right, guys. So earlier in the episode, we introduced the viewers to a very cool futuristic concept called an electropermanent magnet. We have a device. We've got multiple of a single device in this very studio that features an electropermanent magnet. What is it?
I have like one obvious answer, but I don't think it's that.
It's not the floating shoe.
That's what I was thinking.
There you go.
I wish I
Google
didn't say that, so I could have
Optimize.
just put the floating shoe, and then I don't even know what to.
Google Album Archive,
Yeah, because remember whenever the power goes off, the floating shoe always falls.
conversational actions.
Oh yeah, true.
Because you know how in your house you know that the power went out in the middle of the night
Google
if your
surveys.
microwave is blinking when you wake up, but like for us it's like we walk in and the shoe's on the ground. And that's how you know that the power went out.
All right. What'd you put?
All right.
This
I
is
put standing desks.
I put MagSafe charger, which I know is wrong, but it's a magnet.
It is a magnet. The correct answer is the scroll wheel in the Logitech MX Master 3. When you toggle it from its stepped to free-flowing modes,
You're right. We do have a lot of those.
that is an
Wow.
electropermanent magnet.
Wow.
That scroll wheel is fantastic.
It is
really
fantastic.
good.
Wow, Ellis, great trivia question.
That is a great.
That is a
trivia
great trivia question.
You think Marques would have gotten that right?
No.
No.
We'll find out because he's going to get this question.
Final answer?
Final answer, MagSafe puck.
It is incorrect. The correct answer is the MX Master 3.
For the scroll.
Yeah.
switch is an electric.
Wow, that's crazy.
Cool.
Speaking of magnets, really quickly, I had a viewer email me because we talked about how it would be nice if the MagSafe chargers could like be reversible. There's a product available on Amazon Germany that is not available on Amazon US that is a MagSafe charger that charges your phone, but it has a little additional thing on the back that is another MagSafe charger that can charge your like watch or AirPods.
Oh,
So you plug in a cable to the little puck, it slaps on the back of your phone and charges your phone, and you can also put your like AirPods on top of it, which is
Wait,
So
wait,
your
wait.
phone needs
Now
to
I'm
be face
confused.
down.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think.
Oh, the
Yeah.
backside of it.
Yeah, the
that's
backside
fine.
of the phone.
I mean, or you just hold it, I guess.
Wait, you can MagSafe to the screen?
No, it's the back of the phone.
But you just now I'm confused.
It's the back of the phone.
So it's like in this sandwich, your AirPods and the puck are the bread, and your phone is the meat. Or
the meat is the puck.
Oh,
and your
then
phone and the AirPods are the bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, I don't
That was nice.
Nice.
It was like a pretty. It was
Good
like
metaphor.
an $18 thing.
That's good. When you posted that, it was on like that German Amazon, and when I clicked it said like, "Do you want to change your country of origin?" And I was like, "David got hacked," and he's spamming our Slack.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay.
Also, side note, quick update on the score. Marques, David, and Andrew all tied with 8. Still, considering that you guys had that question.
Yeah, because we all got a point last week.
Oh,
All right. So, how many times did Apple say AI during the iPad event?
Wait. Should we do closest delta or should we do Price is Right? I'm feeling Price is Right.
Yeah, let's do Price is Right.
Price is Right is always my least favorite.
That's why we did it, baby.
Thanks.
Google Chrome apps. G Suite Legacy Free Edition.
Have you repeated this yet?
No, none of these have been repeated, as far as I know. Cormo Jobs.
What is that?
Cameos on Google. Streams. They had streams apparently, and then they just got rid of it. Your news update. Again, shout out to Killed by Google for keeping this amazing archive. Flip them and read. What do you got?
I bet Andrew's right. I wrote 4.
Wrong.
I wrote 5.
Wrong.
Was it 6? Was
Wrong.
it 7?
Wrong.
Was it what?
What was it?
I remember it being a ton of times because every time they said it, I was like, "Wow, they actually said it." But then I saw a tweet that it was like 8 times or something, like not that many.
Is that your final answer?
So I'm gonna go with 8.
8.
8. Quinn had like a tweet about how many times they said AI in this because people were complaining about it, and then how many times they said 5G, which was like 50 plus times when they
Well,
first
they
announced
also
it.
had to deal with Verizon that time, so
Yeah,
I'm sure they
Verizon's
had
yeah.
so
to
much
do it.
too. Well, next week we're gonna have Google I/O recap, so it's gonna be a very busy May.
Oh boy.
It's gonna be May, it is May, and then next month it's gonna be June. We got WWDC, so we got a lot of more exciting episodes for you guys. So keep tuned and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell.
Subscribe or else Marquez might not feel better and come back next week.
That's true.
And you're stuck with us again.
Smash that like button since we're YouTubers.
You didn't even look at the camera when
Yeah, because
you
I
said that.
because I felt disgusted by saying it. All right.
Waveform is produced by Adam Molina and Ellis Recommends. We're partnered with Vox Media Podcast Network, and our intro outro music was created by Vane Sil.
Bingo.
What does the B in Benoit B. Mandelbrot stand for?
What?
The inventor of the Mandelbrot set, Benoit B. Mandelbrot.
What?
It stands for Benoit B. Mandelbrot.
What?
Someone in the comments is going to think this is hilarious.
Nobody.
I'm not even going to explain it. Google it.